Yeah, yeah. We've definitely had our share of rain up here and a lot of storms. So the lake level is back up to where it needs to be. We saw the tips of the weeds last weekend, and now they're back drowning again. So
Okay. Thanks,
How do you,
Pat.
how do you
yeah.
spell Wawasee?
Well, I'm going to say it like we cheered at school. So Wawasee.
Okay, I got it. Thank you. That's great. That's
Yeah.
great. That's a great cheer.
Bum, 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 bum.
Well, we could all cheer Wawasee.
It's stuck in my head now.
Me too. We're going to be singing Wawasee all over the country.
Let's go ahead and get started. Appreciate everybody joining us today. We'll start. If you aren't speaking, please mute. And wanted to start with thought of the day. Yesterday was International Youth Day, and the United Nations set aside August 12th for a simple reason. Young people aren't the leaders of tomorrow, they're partners today, and the world does better when we treat them that way. Now, that's not a new idea to Kiwanians. It is what we're doing every time we show up for a Builders Club meeting or sit in the back of a Key Club meeting and let a 15-year-old run the agenda. We're not just teaching leadership to those middle school and high school students. We're in fact handing it over. So thank you for the support our club provides to our service leadership programs year in and year out. And thank you specifically to the members of our club engaged with our school programs and the hours that you give to those clubs. The kids notice who shows up. As mentioned, we do have a couple interclubs going on today. We have the at least one member from the Wawasee Kiwanis Club. Wawasee is a beautiful lake up in northern Indiana, a natural lake. And we have quite a few folks, I can tell by their backgrounds, that have joined us today from the largest Kiwanis Internet Club in the world, the Eye of the Tiger Club. So if you could just introduce yourself or just pick one person, maybe Laura, you can introduce the folks on your side. And again, thank you for joining us. Laura, go
I
ahead.
would be happy to. You have spoken at Eye of the Tiger several times in the past few years and given us such good information. We felt like while you were still president, we wanted to honor you with an interclub. And that's why we're here. We have on this call Barbara Thompson. You've heard her say a few things so far. She's our sage. Barbara Brewer is our secretary. Bob Larson. Let's see here. Dan Brubaker, Mary Jo Brubaker. Sometimes when you go down the list, it jumps on you. We have John Chiesa. He's the past governor of the Carolinas. I know we have Claire Crouch, past governor of Kentucky, Tennessee. Let's see if I can scroll up.
Paul Hines.
Paul Hines. He's from Texas, Oklahoma, the DMC. Scott Sims, the amazing Scott Sims, my friend for life. He is an international trustee and a member of our club, and he's been traveling like crazy lately. Let's see. You see anybody else, Barb?
Um, I see Bill Du Bois, but is he from Indianapolis or from Eye of the Tiger? I don't know.
I
I
think
think
he's from
Bill
Indiana.
Steeman is on the call, Cindy Youngren.
Indianapolis.
Oh, nice.
All right, Cindy Youngren, she's a new incoming Lieutenant Governor for Division 20, Illinois Eastern Iowa. Bill Siemens is the past treasurer of Eye of the Tiger.
Is Jay's iPhone, is that Jay Hubbard or is that another Jay? I can't see.
It may be another Jay. I checked it and it wasn't his cell.
Okay.
All right, that's as good as I can get right now, Jeff. Sorry, I'm not any better. If anybody
Good
sees
crowd.
anybody, holler 'em out.
We appreciate you joining us and appreciate all you do for membership in Kiwanis globally. Wawasee Club, sounds like we've got a couple of you on board. If you could just introduce yourselves.
Sure, I'll start. I see Jennifer's on the call. My name is Pat Moore with the Wawasee Kiwanis Club, former Lieutenant Governor of the Land O'Lakes Division here in northern Indiana. We're blessed to have our meetings on the right across the street from Lakeside Beach, right on the shore of the lake. So every morning when we come out Saturday morning, we get to see the sunrise over the lake. We're a club of about 35, and we're +2 so far this year. We just finished one of our signature projects, our triathlon. We had a record 185 participants this year. And our club has a great time, usually the first weekend of August or last weekend of July. So we get to utilize the natural beauty around us and raise some money for Kiwanis and have a great community project event. So I would like to introduce Jennifer Wilkinson, who I believe is on the call. She is our president. Jennifer, do you want to say hello?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting us to this meeting. Yes, Pat, you did a great job. I don't know that there's anything else I can add. You did great.
All right, I will just add that we do have a third member, and Jay Brill has dual membership, and so we're proud to have Jay part of our Kiwanis family up in Syracuse.
Woo-woo!
All right, good. Appreciate you joining us today. This is our second Thursday Zoom meeting. I want you all to save September 10th and October 8th on your calendar for our next virtual meetings. Of course, you can also subscribe to our Google Calendar. You'll find instructions under the Events tab on our website. Writer, traveler, and Recenter Indiana Board President Don Niebel joins us on Thursday, August 20th. The Dayspring Center will also tell us about the grant that they received for Camp Discovery. Then on September 17th, pianist Claire Lungendijk will join us at our club meeting at the Columbia Club on the Circle. I don't see Eric on the line, so just give you an update on the golf outing. It's at River Glen and Fishers on September 22nd. Individuals are $125 and $400 for foursomes. I can't play golf, but I have signed up. So I imagine I'm just going to be driving a cart and drinking cold beer, which I can think of worse things. Thanks to silver sponsor Gelser Investments and whole sponsor Mary Marsh. Reach out to Eric Steele if you're interested in supporting this event. It is our biggest external fundraiser of the year and did quite well last year. Hopefully the storms that have been popping up for the last 2 weeks disappear by then. Thursday, October 15th, we'll learn more about the major investment in Crispus Attucks High School and the state-of-the-art Health Academy Lab. That'll be IPS Foundation Indy Health District Key Clubbers. They're going to be visiting us during their fall break to report on the convention that they just had in Dallas, Texas. The mayor has proclaimed October 17th as Coats for Kids Day, and the distribution event is again at the fairgrounds. You can sign up to volunteer sorting coats on Wednesdays in September at the Salvation Army headquarters in Castleton. The foundation will also be providing financial support to the Angel Tree and Radiothon on Saturday, September 12th. It's funny that we're talking about December already. Wendy.
Yes. Okay. Well, I'm going to report on what happened at DCON. I just love how Kiwanis has its own language for things, but the district convention that was just held in Muncie this past Saturday. And of course, we're all thinking about everyone with the rains that they've had. So I had the pleasure of presenting our foundation's check for $7,500 to the Riley Foundation. And as you can see, we've provided over $407,000 to support Riley kids since 1999. And the parade of checks brought in a total of $91,702. As a Riley parent, it was special to present that check this year. You see also that our Key Club Indiana District Governor Dylan Crosby was in attendance, as well as Robert Langen. He spoke to the group a little bit about his experiences. Also at the convention, it was confirmed that Greg Ayers is going to be the next governor and Tom Ford is governor-elect. No opposition. That's it.
Thank you, Wendy. I appreciate it. Bob Lowry, you can give us an update on the foundation. Thought I saw Bob's name out there. Bob going once? Bob going twice?
It might be our Bob Larson.
Ha! Bob L. Yeah, I assumed.
He might be able to give the report.
The foundation's 2027 grant applications will open soon after the foundation's board meeting next Wednesday. Let Bob Lowry know if you have any thoughts about how the grants are awarded or promoted. You can also be part of the review committees in October. I know Roger and Laura are on board. So if you give us an update on Lunch Bunch and the service leadership programs, I'd appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeff. I think I just figured out how to do it.
Okay.
I was turned off some reason, but thank you for doing that.
Roger, Laura?
Roger, would you like to give the invitation to lunch? No, we can't hear you.
Roger's muted or something.
It's not muted. I
Let's
think he's
see.
just
Muted, but
Just shy.
Roger, no, he's not shy.
I'll cover you, Roger. Friday, August 28th is the next lunch bunch at Iozo's. Usually there's 5 or 6 of us though. It's good there. It's a good time. And the food is delicious. And if you go to Iozo's, you really don't need to eat for like another 2 weeks. It's a lot of food, a lot of good food for a little money. So please join us on Friday, August 28th for the next lunch bunch at Iozo's. If you are going, please let Roger know so he can make sure that he's got enough chairs for the folks coming. Laura.
Yes. So I would love to provide an update about our service leadership programs, in particular Key Club. Last time I told you guys service year is already started for Key Club, that they are getting things ready. They're back in school and working at it already. So our first event is right around the corner. That's the district kickoff, which is Fall Rally. It's here in Indianapolis at the zoo. It's going to be a really good time. It's a day event where they go, they have a meeting, they talk about things that are important, they get to know each other, and then they go to the zoo and have fun. We usually have a good turnout from our key clubs, Perry Meridian High School, Shortridge High School, Speedway, and hopefully Arsenal Tech High School as well. And that's September 12th. And thanks to our club's support, we're able to subsidize the cost of attending for our Key Club members. And then right around the corner next month, after that, October 23rd, is our Indiana District Key Leader event. And all of Kiwanis members support that event by, I think, $1 out of our Kiwanis dues goes to subsidize the cost of holding that. It's a camp that they host, and the Key Leader program is for leadership development. It's for any high school student, so it can be a recruitment piece for Key Club as well. And they have a wonderful time up at Camp Tecumseh in Indiana. And hopefully we'll have a good turnout from our Key Clubs at that event as well. And with our three of our board members, Indiana District board members are members at clubs that we sponsor, so they are hosting these events. I'll back up a little bit to tell you a little bit about the photos on your screen there. In July, we had the International Convention, and of course, great turnout from our Key Club members in the Indiana District and from the clubs that we sponsor. Perry Meridian High School got third place in the scrapbook contest, the traditional year in review contest. And we were recognized for raising funds for Thirst Project to end the water crisis in the world. Our distinguished governor, Sweet Knight, was awarded that night as well. And our lieutenant governor, Lauren Stroud, received an award. And so we're doing the right things. What we're doing is working. So it was a great year for Key Club. And I think I have the honor to introduce one of our guests here. And I haven't checked to ensure that she's here, but I'd like to invite Lillian Barkes with Listen to Our Future to tell us a little bit more about the project-based learning program and the grant that they received, $5,000 club grant that they received from our foundation. They are working to equip and empower youth to make a long-lasting change in our community through education, empowerment, and social action. So let's see if Lillian is available this time. Scrolling through the list, I'm not seeing her.
Yeah, I didn't see her either unless it's one of the phone numbers.
We'll have to invite her back because I had the honor of going to meet her and see the office where they work, or the center where they work. And there's way more than I can say about it. But it was really exciting to see the impact that they're making throughout the Indianapolis area. Well, I'll pass it on to Eric, who I believe is on this call.
Yeah, so Eric, you're joining us, everybody, today. By the way, I noticed Laura Gillian, I the Tiger president, mentioned me. There's a couple other people that have hopped on. And as I was scrolling down the names, I noticed that Mohan Lamsal from Nepal is actually on this call. So we are truly represented globally today. I don't know what time it is in Kathmandu, but thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Jeff. Namaste, everyone.
Thank you for joining us, Mohan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mohan.
So for those of you that are not from Indianapolis, Fox Hollow is a area in Westfield, which is just north of Kiwanis International Headquarters, about 10 miles north of here. And there is it's turning out to be a prolific serial killer there back in the 90s that did a lot of horrific things. So nothing like a little murder and serial killer discussion over your lunch. So Eric, if you could please formally introduce Laura, I appreciate it.
Me, Eric.
You're the Eric Rowan.
Okay. I didn't know I was doing an introduction, but so I don't have her formal CO in front of me, but I have been watching what she's been doing. And I'm a friend on Facebook. She has a Facebook page where she's sharing information that she's found on this. I know Laura primarily from the Mickey's camp, which is about to start again next week. But she has been a journalist and then a documentarian, I think, from some of the TV. So, Laura, please fill in where I've left out because I look forward to your conversation.
Hi, Eric. It's good to see you again. It's been a while.
Yeah.
So thank you all for taking time out and to hear about a story about a serial killer and something that has become a bit of an obsession for me. I'm going to share my screen here, hopefully. And so I honestly didn't realize so many people were out. I was afraid what I was going to share was going to be a lot of maybe what you already knew about. So I apologize for this here. Okay, so I am going to talk while I try to figure out how to share this screen. And so I was a newspaper reporter. Am I sharing the screen?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't mean to share that part. I am so sorry. Okay.
The behind the scenes.
I've never done a presentation with a share screen, so I apologize. I'm really good at investigating murders and selling houses, but not so good at sharing a screen, I guess. Anyway, in my first career, I was a newspaper reporter in Noblesville, and in 1996. And one day in 1996, I got a phone call from a longtime source of mine who said, Laura, they have found human remains at a farm in Westfield. And I thought you might want to know about it. Well, of course, I wanted to know about it. And so I immediately drove out there. And for the next 2.5 years, now I can't figure out how to make this a big screen. Is that better? Can people see that?
I
You've
see
seen the
thumbnails. Yeah.
You just see thumbnails?
Yeah. So
the
I don't know if you
files.
have dual
Yeah.
screen or
I don't
maybe
know what I
one
have.
screen that you're
Your
sharing
screen sharing is paused. Oh my gosh, I knew I should have practiced. Here. I don't know why it's doing that. You see that?
Yes. Yes.
A bunch
Yes.
of newspaper articles?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Okay. We're on. Here we go. So in the 90s, I began writing about these human remains that were found in Westfield, which is a suburb of Indianapolis. But back then, it was a town of only maybe like 11, 12,000 people. Well, this is really embarrassing. So I went out to Fox Hollow Farm. You don't see anything, I bet.
Yeah, no,
You
we
still
see
the articles.
I worked really hard on this. No, I didn't really, but I don't understand why I can't share this, why it's not moving. Fox Hollow
There we
Farm.
go.
Here's what it
Yep.
looked like from 156th Street. From those of you who are from the area, it's just west of 31. And it was, this house was built in 1977. For those of you from Indianapolis, it was built by Dr. Mark Stone. I don't know if anyone remembers him, but he was a pretty well-known ophthalmologist and then got in some trouble with some bad bank deals and lost the house. And so in 1991, late 1991, Herb Baumeister and his wife Julie and their 3 kids were buying this house, this $1 million house on contract. And I just want to point out this area right here was an in-ground, swimming pool, an indoor swimming pool. And then it walked out to this big patio. So that is an important thing to know. here is an aerial of what the property looked like, just to give you perspective. This is now the Monon Trail that runs on the east side of the property. And then on the west side of the property is the Petersons, the big developers, property. But the back of the property is about 10 acres of really thick woods. This is Herb Baumeister. This is a picture of his family. They thought, his wife said this was her dream, to raise her children at this excluded property, and the kids could rollerblade down the road, down the big lane and everything. But then things didn't go well for the Baumeisters. And by 1996, things were in a lot of disrepair. The Baumeisters owned some thrift stores, 2 thrift stores, very much just think like Goodwill stores, resale shops. And they had been doing really well in 92 and 93 to buy this property. But around that time, this woman at the top here, Mary Wilson, a detective with the Indianapolis Police Department, started to investigate missing men in Indianapolis. And by 1994, 2 moms of missing men went to this guy, Virgil Vandegrift, who was a former homicide detective turned private eye. And they started seeing a trend and knew that there was a serial killer in Indianapolis and probably in the suburbs, and someone who was targeting gay men in downtown Indianapolis. In 1996, so when the police figured out, they finally figured out because of a witness who said, hey, I've had an experience out at Fox Hollow. Herb Baumeister took me out there to drink, offered me drugs, to have sex. We were in this big house. He was into erotic asphyxia, got into the pool, and this guy said Herb tried to strangle him and kill him. Well, the witness is 6'7", young guy, kind of athletic, and he said he got away. Well, the cops wanted to get onto the property, but Herb and Julie wouldn't let them. So they didn't have enough for a warrant until finally Julie did not know, she says, what was going on. She files for divorce because Herb is starting to act like a lunatic, and their business was, going nowhere. They were in debt up to their eyeballs, and their son had found a skeleton on the property about 18 months earlier. Now, Herb explained the skeleton as being from his dad's doctor's office. His dad had been an anesthesiologist in Indianapolis, and Herb said, yeah, his dad had given him a skeleton. The raccoons must have dragged it out of the garage, and no one needs to worry about this. So Julie tried to believe that story. But by June of 96, Herb took their son to Lake Wawasee. So I'm glad so many people from Lake Wawasee is on the call. Herb's family had multiple lake houses at Lake Wawasee. So Herb took the teenage son there, and Julie was frantic, and she called her attorney and said, I'm going to let the police come onto the property. This is what the property looked like the day the police showed up. And if anyone has seen there's a Hulu series that came out in 2024, that was a 4-part series. And then just July, there was an update to that series. And they talk a lot about these mannequins that were all along the house. This is what the mannequins look like that were around the pool when the police showed up. They had this really amazing stable that the Markstones had built on the property. Then they had this 5-car garage, which Herb filled with everything he could find. He was a hoarder. And if he kept a car, even if the car didn't work. Herb was a very odd guy. No one really suspected him of being a serial killer, but he was an odd guy. Here are other things that police found when they did their investigation. Julie said there's this jacket she saw, and it didn't belong to Herb or any of the kids. Well, this jacket ended up being a key of how police were able to identify Michael Kern, who went missing in 1995. It was his jacket. This is what the basement looked like. Another mannequin that he had set up here just to look like, it was serving drinks or something from the bar. The house was just a mess. Something else they found, suspicious in the woods when they were investigating were these handcuffs. It was really interesting when covering this in the 90s. I'd never covered a serial killer or even human remains being found, and reporters were not allowed back into the property. So these photos are from the Hamilton County Sheriff's Department. And they called in a forensic anthropologist from the University of Indianapolis. And he and his team came out, and when they realized this was not just one person, by the end of the first day, they knew there were at least 3 and probably more. So they set up this they brought in fire department volunteers to clear out areas, and they set up this grid system so that they could identify when they found something, they could say this was found in quadrant or area 1, area 1.1, and that's how they identified where different bones and also different evidence was found. This is another photo of them going through the remains. And I mean, it was very much like panning for gold. They would dig up areas this is a ditch on the west side of the property. They would dig it up, and then they would put it in these kind of sieves to get rid of the dirt and see what remains were there. Because some of these remains were crushed. Some of them had been burned. Some of them were tiny, as small as your tip of your finger. And they found a lot of teeth. So it was a very tedious process. I put this together. This is not to scale. I put this together for my own reference. And it shows, just to show how many different areas the remains and evidence were found. Every time they found a bone, the forensic folks would put a flag out, and there were flags covering this entire back property. But there were 3 main areas, and they discovered that guys who went missing in 1994 were in this area. Guys who went missing in 1993 were in this area, and this area is where the handcuffs were found. There were 2 guys, well, one guy identified that went missing in 95, and he was found in this area. So it looked like a pattern. There were also lots of things and remains found in this creek, which made sense to investigators because the bones had been there. They knew when they were first out there that the people could not have been more than, had been there for more than a year, 18 months. So the police by 1998 had identified several of the victims through dental records, through that jacket. And there also had been missing men and missing teenagers found in rural parts of Indiana and Ohio along I-70. And there was someone that they were suspecting called the I-70 Strangler. So by 98, I was at a news conference in the eastern part of Indiana, and they said, we've got this solved. Herb Baumeister has killed people, dumped the remains at Fox Hollow. And before he owned Fox Hollow, he was killing teenagers, gay teenagers and young men, and dumping them out in the middle of nowhere and along I-70 in ditches, culverts, lots of areas where water was found. So they said, case closed, we're done. There's nothing more we can do. You have to remember back then, DNA was pretty new and very expensive, but it was a new technology and it wasn't used like it was today. So they said, this is all we can do. Case closed. They left about 10,000 human remains and fragments at the University of Indianapolis in a temperature-controlled room, and said, we are done with this case, and nothing was heard from again. So I left the newspaper business in late 1998, and I went about with my life. For the last about 18 years, I've been a residential realtor. And while I have driven by the place many times, I didn't really think much more about it. And then one day I'm minding my own business, and I got a call from a producer with ABC who said, do you remember covering a serial killer in the 90s? And I'm like, well, of course, I remember that. And she wanted to interview me for this documentary they were doing. So I wanted to refresh my memory. And I went up to a guest room closet and in the back of the closet, I had a box marked murders, which I'm sure that's pretty common for all of you to have a box marked murders at your house. Anyway, so I go through it. I learn And I'm like, you know what? Some of the same questions I had in 96, I have now. And I started looking into it again and did the interview, did the documentary, and learned a lot more things. And one of the things that always bothered me was this character named Mark Goodyear. Mark is the guy who said he had survived Herb Baumeister, but Mark did not give he did not give consistent stories to the police, and he's a very odd individual. But he's never been arrested. But he has, and he showed his face to the public for the first time when he did this Hulu documentary, and he said the reason he was doing it is because everyone who knew anyone about the case was dead. Well, these are all the guys that have been identified so far from Fox Hollow Farm. All of them had some kind of connection to gay bars in Indianapolis or areas in downtown Indianapolis. These are all the guys and kids that were found in Indiana and Ohio. Their disappearances stretched from 1980 until 1991. Then I realized after this documentary that the police had lied to us. And as someone who is trained as a journalist, I went into journalism to tell stories and to share information with the public. So being lied to was just horrific to me. And I mean, I just felt duped because I felt like I had also then not given correct information to the public. What the police told us over and over in the 1990s was Herb Baumeister went to gay bars. He preyed on guys who were down on their luck. They were gay guys who had been disowned by their families. They were homeless. They were sex workers. They were alcoholics. They were drug addicts. No one was looking for them. No one even knew that they were gone or missed them. That was a lie. In fact, I have met so many families since doing that first documentary. Janie Brock, as soon as her brother Manuel went missing, they could not believe that he was not there for family dinner. He was there almost every weekend with his son, didn't show up, just seemed to vanish. Sharon Livingston, she's the reason the whole case was reopened, which I'm not even going to get into, but she was looking in dumpsters for her son, Alan, when he didn't show up over the weekend. He came almost every weekend to help her out around the house, to get dinner, all those normal kind of things. She couldn't figure out where he was. For 30 years, she did not disconnect her home number, hoping that one day Alan would call her, and she wasn't going to get rid of that home phone because that was the only number Alan knew. So story after story, I was talking to these families who were looking for their missing loved ones, and really the police were doing very little. One family, the police identified him. They found some remains. They called up his family members, had them come to the Hamilton County Sheriff's Department, handed them a brown bag, said, "Here are the remains we found out on a farm. See you later." That's just how they were treated. The other thing that the police did, which we've always known from the beginning, is that they let a suspected serial killer just drive off to Canada. So Herb Baumeister, this is an interesting path to me, and I'm still trying to figure it out. But Herb Baumeister, when the police showed up at his house, he was at Lake Wawasee with the son. Julie was frantic. The police go up to Lake Wawasee. They get the teenage son, bring him back to Indianapolis. They do not talk to Herb. In fact, Detective Ken Wisman, who was leading the case, said, "I don't want anyone talking to him. I want to put together my own investigation of this guy before we talk to him." They didn't put a tail on him. They didn't put out an APB, nothing. So Herb drives back to his house in Indianapolis. They had a second house. They never sold the first house they had. He drove back to that house that one of the reporters I worked with confirmed with neighbors. From there, we know 3 days later, after the the 25th is when the real investigation, they really started finding the remains. He drives to Fenville, Michigan. The only reason we know he was in Fenville is because he called his brother and had his brother wire him funds. He told his brother he was looking for other locations to expand the business. We also know that Fenville was in a kind of a hotspot for gays at that time. He was there for a while, then he drives clear across the state of Michigan to Port Huron, where he calls his brother again and says he needs more money because his car is broken down. So his brother Brad wires him more money. Herb then crosses into Canada. And the border crossing has reports that he got there at like 6 o'clock in the evening. He's in Sarnia. I know now from a Canadian police report I got maybe 3 weeks ago that I had been trying to get for more than a year. But we know now that there was a specific location near Sarnia where he was going because the address was written on a business card that was found in his car. In Sarnia, on July 3rd, about 3:30 in the morning, he is parked on the side of the road and sleeping, and a police officer stops him to tell him he can't sleep there. She asks for his driver's license, his registration. She calls it in. Nothing is, suspicious about him. She goes back to the car. She makes a note that the car has a bunch of stuff all over it, including a whole bunch of VHS tapes in the back seat. He goes on his way. He goes to Pinery Provincial Park, also near Sarnia in Ontario. It's a very beautiful place. I drove up there last fall because I needed to see for myself what this place looked like. So at 11:30 on July 3rd, he is found on this beach right about here, dead by a camper. The beach didn't look exactly like this back in the 90s. It looked more like this, where there was an actual road along the beach, so you could drive right along the water. So Herb is found dead there. He has a 2.5-page note that he has secured with a rock right beside his body. He goes out to the front of his car. He has a .357 and he shoots himself in the head. He's found there. They did an autopsy there. And they found the car was emptied. Everything had been cleaned out of the car. No videotapes, nothing. They searched dumpsters, couldn't find them. We don't know what happened to them. So I start asking more questions like, okay, what really is going on here? There's got to be more people involved than just Herb. This does not make sense. And in the new documentary that just came out in July, I talk a lot about police files I was able to get after trying for about 9 months and filing lots of complaints. And I finally get these police files, and in it is the name Thomas Ackerman. Never heard this name before. If anyone knows Thomas Ackerman, you need to contact me after this call. Thomas Ackerman, that I've learned, came to Indianapolis in the late 70s to work for the state. He and Herb did work for the state in the same office building downtown Indianapolis when Herb worked for Bureau of Motor Vehicles. Police began investigating Ackerman, though, in 1993 when a guy named Richard Hamilton went missing. Richard became Ackerman's boyfriend. Ackerman was among the last people to see Richard Hamilton alive. Richard Hamilton remains were found at Fox Hollow Farm. A year later, a kid named Stephen Hale Ackerman is in jail for prostitution charges. Ackerman bonds him out of jail, and that's the last anyone has seen Stephen Hale. There was a grand jury investigation, but the police are not talking about this. I don't have any information on what happened aside from the fact they arrested Ackerman on drug charges. He spent a little time in jail, but by 1995, Ackerman and his boyfriend take off to Atlanta, and he lived out his life in Atlanta for 20-some years. His sister lived in Atlanta, which is why he went there. This week, I have talked to neighbors of his in Atlanta, and they had no clue about this life of Thomas Ackerman, so they're in a little bit of disbelief, and they have been texting me questions about what the heck was going on. They didn't even know he ever lived in Indianapolis. So the state police say they have reopened this case to figure out what's going on. I'm not sure how much they're still investigating. The coroner is still trying to identify remains. Like I said, there were 10,000 remains and fragments that we know are all human. We know that there could be as many as 25 victims that were out there. Families are trying desperately to figure out what happened, and the police aren't talking. The Hamilton County Sheriff's Department wants nothing to do with this case. They say the state's handling it and they're no longer involved. And so it's still very much an active case, and a cold case, and a very bizarre case. So in the time we have, I'm going to tell you this. This is the Facebook page that Eric follows. It's called Laura Musall, the Herbert Baumeister story. If any of you have real estate needs and want to move here, you can find me at lauramusallhomes.com. So I will take questions about, and I'm sure there are lots of them because I spend a lot of time every day anymore answering questions.
I can start. I've always been curious as to so his wife, did she move out of the house immediately after she filed for divorce? I mean, was he in the house by himself, or what
No,
about his kids?
He filed for divorce in November of 95. No, maybe it was January. Anyway, maybe 6 months before this all started, she had filed for divorce. He moved out, and they thought he was living with his mother, and she lived over on 75th Street in kind of a very private wooded area. So she was still living in the house when this happened with the kids. Now, they were buying this on contract. And at the time, the guy they were buying it from, who had moved to Kentucky, was very upset because they were behind many, many months in their payments. Mm. So after this investigation started, Julie had to move out of the house. She was there for a few weeks, but then she moved out of the house. They still had the house they had on the north side of Indianapolis. It was in disarray, but she moved back there, changed her name, her last name, and still lives there today.
Okay. All right. So even with all the weird stuff hanging around the bartender, all that, she didn't seem to be too uptight about that.
The bartender?
Well, the mannequins that he had kind of laying around.
Okay, so I know that seems, you have to think about, I've had to make myself think about this in terms of these people did not live the way I live. They just had, Herb was a hoarder. He was a dumpster diver. He brought home stuff. They had thrift stores. I talked last week to a woman who had been a babysitter for the kids when they were very small before they moved to Fox Hollow. And she said she couldn't understand why they didn't use both of the bedrooms upstairs. So one day when she was there babysitting, she decided to open the door, and she opens the door and it's filled with all kinds of stuff, including mannequins.
Okay.
So I don't think Julie thought anything of mannequins around the pool any differently because that's how their life had been for 20 years.
Okay. And are the kids grown up and well adjusted at this point, or?
The son has been in lots of trouble and has had many arrests and is living in the basement of his mom's house right now. But he has a very successful tree trimming, tree care business. Yeah. Okay. One of his biggest clients is Crown Hill Cemetery, where his dad is buried.
Okay.
He has the two daughters. One still lives in the area, is married with children, and the other lives in Chicago. And they've all changed their last names.
Okay.
So is the house on Fox Hollow still there?
The house on Fox Hollow is still there. And in 2009, and I am not making this up, a couple by the name of Vicki and Rob Graves bought the house with a silent partner who I've never figured out who it was. And they divided the property. So the about 9 acres in the front are now like $1 to $3 million houses, and the graves still live in the house at Fox Hollow, and it's almost like a museum. They have not changed hardly anything from the 90s. He was doing tours. He does paranormal stuff there. So if you want to pay a fee, you can stay overnight there and see if they're a ghost and all kinds of stuff like that. He's written a book that has some truth in it, and it's very odd.
Are you going to write a book?
That's what I'm working on.
Yeah.
Good.
I thought, honestly, I had started writing and working with an agent and thought I had the whole story. And then I got these police files with Ackerman in it, and everything has really changed.
Yeah, it's got so many trails, I can't keep them straight in my head.
What was in the suicide note?
Well, so the sheriff's department has misplaced a lot of documents, and the suicide note is among those. So is the autopsy. So are lots of interviews with witnesses. But from what I can glean and what the Canadian police have said is there was nothing in the suicide note that he admitted to anything. He talked about his disappointment with his failing businesses, his failing marriage, his kids. I know he called his kids before he killed himself. He wrote them letters. And, he was very much a person who lived a double life. And the more I have dug into this, the more I wonder whether he was the main killer. And maybe he was being framed. I don't know that yet. But I believe there are more people involved that we don't know about.
Do they believe
and one of the reasons I think that is because I do have a video of when Mark Goodyear, the guy who said he was a survivor, when he was interviewed by the Hamilton County Sheriff's Department, at the end of the video, the Indianapolis police detective talked to the Hamilton County detective who was taking over the case. So there were two different jurisdictions, and police officers, unfortunately, often don't play well together. And Mary Wilson says, I've got all these files. I've got a file. Here's a suspect. And Ken Wisman says, I don't care about those. I just want the Baumeister file. So we don't know who the other suspects are, except I am 99% sure one of those was Thomas Ackerman.
Have you reached out to Jeff Jellison, who's the Hamilton County coroner?
Yeah, Jeff
he was
and
giving presentations on this last year.
Yeah, Jeff and I talk often.
Okay.
Hey, do they believe they've taken? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Do they believe they have found all the victims on the property?
No. I mean, this woods, it's more manicured now than it was, but it was very wild. I mean, they had to call in people just to clear a path because of all the growth and undergrowth. So it was quite challenging. And with the weather and the elements and the water and erosion, they have found remains in a park not far from the property.
I would say, Barbara Thompson, to answer your question about the house is still there. And when Laura brought up the map before, there's a old rail line that runs along the east side of the property, which is now a walking trail, very popular walking trail, which is, I use it all the time, and it's just creepy every time because it goes right over that ravine, and the ravine it's steep. There's a creek that runs through it. It's very wooded. I imagine before all the development up there in Westfield is that area up there. I think it's one of the fastest growing areas for sure in the state, but probably nationwide. Before all the development up there, I imagine it was pretty wild.
Ooh.
It's still very wooded.
Yeah, the back is still they have not changed. I don't know what happened now, but anyway, they have all the woods is still there. They added a retention pond. They added there were like 3 other buyers before the Graves came along, and no one ever moved in it, but someone added a big garage. They were going to put a business there. So it's changed a little bit, but the house in the woods has not really changed.
And all the remains have been just bones, or have they, I mean, nothing was recognizable as human other than them being bones, or was there flesh and that kind of thing too?
No, it was all just bones. And a lot of them were burned.
Mm.
And some of them, they were not buried. They were just on top of the ground. Like I remember at the coroner at the time was explaining it to me. He was like, if you didn't know what you were looking at, you would have just thought it was gravel, rocks or pebbles on the ground. Now, there were some bones that were larger. They did find one bone that had signs of strangulation, and that's the only one that they have found that had any signs of, of any kind of how they died.
Yeah, I remember when Rob Graves bought that property, he sold me a few cars. And so I was, I didn't know about Baumeister. So, he said, yeah, I bought the Fox Hollow house. I'm like, okay. It's like, oh, okay. Now I get it. So interesting.
Yes. Okay, Pat, the skull that was found in Wawasee, that actually, I think they identified that as being
Native
very,
American.
very old.
Yeah. I was Googling while you were talking to see if there was any ties to Wawasee, and that came up. If somebody finding a skull, I would imagine everybody was thinking it was it. So
They did. Now, I will say I'm going to get the year wrong now, but maybe in 93 or 4, Herb was stopped early in the morning on his way to Wawasee he was taking a boat up there, and he was stopped for drunk driving. He was jailed. But in the boat, and according to the police report, they went through everything and there were garbage bags filled with clothes. And I have always wondered if those were clothes and personal items of the victims that he was taking up to the lake.
Wow.
Any other questions for Laura? Laura, we truly appreciate you joining us today. We'll be making a donation in your honor to Healthy Soul Culinary Art Foundation. They empower youth and strengthen communities through hands-on culinary education, wellness-centered training, and pathways to economic opportunity. Go out and visit Laura's Facebook site, and of course, talk to Laura if you're interested in buying a home in the area. I appreciate the Eye of the Tiger Club and the Wawasee Club joining us today for this presentation, and we appreciate all you do for Kiwanis in your communities. With that, we are adjourned.
Hey, Jeff, we have Lillian on the call right now. If you want to invite her to speak for a few minutes.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, this is the $5,000 scholarship, right? Or
yes, the club grant.
The club grant. Thank you.
Listen to our future.
William.
Yes, thank you. I know we're almost at time, so I won't take up too much of your time. I have a short presentation to share. My name is Lillian. I am one of the co-founders, and I'm the CEO of Listen to Our Future. So just to go through this really quickly to kind of recap. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes,
I think
we
we're
can.
good now. Okay, perfect. To recap,
and we can see your screen.
Let's get right into it. So this summer, we worked with Teamworks. They provide employment for youth and over the summer for opportunities. And each of our youth, so we had 18 youth and they were split into groups, and they partnered with different businesses and organizations to help them solve a problem using project-based learning. So we worked with Youthiverse. They're based out of Gary, Indiana, Indiana Sports Corp, Brother Jamal Shabazz, Let Them Talk, a couple of local podcasters, Marian University, the Indiana After School Network, and WFYI. So they're Summer work involved partnering with various community businesses and finding solutions to their problems. These problems included things like raising awareness for issues that youth face, funding challenges, not enough engagement, limited advertising and outreach opportunities to engage with youth. I also have a lot of pictures in here. We were also given some funding and we allocated that for a guest speaker series. So we had 4 different guest speakers. We did have a lot of girls in the program, so they wanted to hear from people who are in male-dominated industries and how they kind of navigate that. And then we also wanted to talk about civic engagement as well. So they got to learn about both of those things throughout the summer. And here's some pictures.
LTLF means safety, being able to express yourself and being able to share your ideas without feeling like you're doing too much.
Yes.
Without the program, there can be a lot of people out there without any direction, school-wise or career-wise or anything else that they might need. We're part of the ambassador program, and basically we took a 3-week-long class teaching us how to take a problem that we're given by a business and how to solve their problem, because we're the people who are going to be dealing with it in the future. LTOF should continue to be funded because it provides an open space for all kids of any background. And it's going to be even more amazing to continue to have spaces like this. So if they're funded, it's helping the greater good.
Yes, so we were able to invite local leaders, mayor, neighborhood advocates, some CEOs and elected officials to come to our open house style showcase where students presented their projects. We are continuing this program with different schools, high school and college students, this is who our program is really geared towards, but it was a really huge success. So I super thank you all for your time and your investment and just believing in young people and being willing to center their voices so that way they can share their thoughts and what needs to change for their future.
Thank you, Lillian. We appreciate the update. Before we go, Eye of the Tiger President Laura Gilliland, 1 and 2 minutes.
No, I only want 30 seconds. First of all, I want to thank the 14 members of Eye of the Tiger that enter club today. Jim Rochford was on, past international president. Lee Kwan Young wanted to be on, but it was 1 a.m. his time. So he couldn't be here, but he wanted to say best wishes to you. I want you to know that I am a fellow Hoosier. I lived in Indiana and Crawfordsville, and then I came down to do my graduate work at LSU and stayed in Louisiana. The Eye of the Tiger has the concentration and focus on membership. We are recruiters, we build new clubs, and we encourage each other to seek leadership roles. One of our service projects is we provide 100 books to the new clubs that we open. And we would love to have you join us at any meeting. Kendra Morris is going to be speaking this month, August 20th at 8 p.m. Eastern. If you're interested in attending and interclubbing, we'd love to have you. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. And again, thank you for joining us. With that, we are adjourned. See you next week. Thank you.